Hey guys, it's Crystal Lee Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor. Crystal Lee Moore, this is Realtor Life, and I am pumped, guys. We have the pleasure of having the one, the only Coach Brett, aka Brett Lucier, my husband, on Realtor Life today. Hi, Brett, welcome.
Hi, this is exciting.
I'm
It's
excited too.
at first I was like, it's about time, but then I started looking at all the people you have had on the show and on your podcast. I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't about time, but it's very cool to be here anyways.
So excited. Okay. So, anyone who is in the entrepreneur world in London probably already knows Brett's story about Provincial Glass and about networking. If you don't know about it, look up any interview he's ever done because everyone's interested all the time. He is a mega networker and absolutely loves this city. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about how you have kind of taken a left turn in community involvement and taken your passion in a whole other direction. So before any of that, why don't you introduce yourself and say kind of why you think you're here?
Well, I think you nailed it perfectly. I think I did. I'm Coach Brett, and that's how I'm known. And I've taken my passion for boxing and community and kind of combined them into one, and found a way to kind of give back with a local boxing gym
Mhm.
and help hopefully young athletes become champions in and out of the ring.
Oh, so cool, so cool. And I mean, I've had a front seat to watching this journey, so I have a bit of an advantage. But for everyone listening, let's bring everyone along on the journey. So, way back in 2019, when you got in the ring for Fight to End. Okay, so that seems like I don't know, a
A lifetime.
lifetime ago, right? With COVID.
Yeah,
But
about 30 pounds ago, about a couple less gray hairs ago. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
now, what was it about boxing? Was it the first time you had ever been introduced to boxing?
No, actually, I was introduced at a very young age to boxing. My grandfather was a military man and thought that every man, every boy should have some sort of combat training. And so I was brought at a very young age, probably I'm going to say between 10 and 12, I think is what it was. This is the same grandfather that made sure that I got all my haircuts done at the barracks and taught me the this is my left fist. This is 2 weeks in the hospital, and this is my right fist. This is sudden death. So from a very young age, combat sports was brought in, and boxing was the flavor that he introduced me to. It didn't take at that young age. I think I was a little stubborn. I was still more into hockey and baseball because those were team sports, and that was what I was pushed to and drawn to. But yeah, my grandfather, for one, was the first one to introduce me to boxing, and then it wasn't until really 2019 when charity event Fight to End was discussed, and it really kind of re-sparked my love of boxing. I followed boxing all the years growing up. I was a huge Mike Tyson fan, Pernell Whitaker. There was tons of boxers that I was really into, throughout the 90s and even in early 2000s.
Amazing. Now, I will say, so we're going to circle back to the competitive sports side of it kind of at the end. But one of the coolest things that I thought when we're talking about boxing, and anytime we're kind of introducing the idea, especially with Fight to End with our participants, introducing that idea, I find a lot of it is just kind of walking people through. It's not just getting punched in the face. So, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's actually step one. You don't want to get punched in the face. Good boxers um, don't get punched. So that's a step one. My background in fighting is more from a hockey standpoint, whereas you stand there, you take a punch to give a punch. That's kind of was the mentality that I had, and it wasn't until I got further into my training and especially into coaching that you definitely learn that you just don't want to get hit. So ideally, you want to move, whether it's your head or your feet, and that's going to get you in the right position for offense, hopefully.
I can tell you, I don't want to get hit. I also haven't gotten in the ring yet, but I do find what I've witnessed, and this is kind of a cool thing because just watching you through your coaching journey, which I'm so excited to share here, it's beyond the physical side of boxing. There's so much more to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about boxing is they said, you know what, anybody can do it. So it doesn't matter if, you're rich, poor, middle class, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your race, your creed, anything like that. It's for everybody. And I think it's one of the more cost-effective sports out there, especially for youth. And I know for me, when I was younger, it was actually really sports that really kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. And I definitely had friends that took a different turn. So
Yeah.
I think sports. I'm a big believer in, I am a believer in team sports, but I know boxing is looked as a lonely sport. But I think where we are at Boomers, it really tries to turn it into a family and a support system that is like a team.
Yeah, no, amazing. Now, so okay, so we'll go back a few steps. So you got in the ring in 2019, along with all of the other participants, so 31 others, so 32 people in the ring. And that was fantastic. Um, and then COVID kind of happened. What point during the 2019, I'm gonna actually box as an adult to now, like, where did that idea that not only am I going to box, I'm going to get involved in helping others with coaching?
Well, the more I got involved in the event, I think was the more I was surrounded by great coaching mentors that I got to watch, and I got to watch how they spoke to brand new athletes. And that's really what spoke to me. I think that was something I was like, I could do that. And, I know my knowledge and experience isn't there, but I can get that. And I think it really sparked my passion, and it really um, drew me into the gym and drew me into the lifestyle of a coach. I with my business, I guess coaching is part of what I do.
Yeah.
Um, but this is something totally different. I had coached other sports before, I tried other sports before. I've tried, teaching at a college level and things like that. And those none of those seem to take. And, I don't 100% know the difference or what the huge difference was, but I know once I started coaching the kids, I think that was something that, when I saw them, looking up to me or listening to me, it was different.
Yeah,
And I really felt with them, I could make a huge difference.
absolutely. And I think ultimately, from what I've experienced in my life, but also what I've seen with others, including you, it's impact, right? Like what is the impact what you're doing is making? And are you just doing it because you're doing it? Or are you actually like making ripples in the world? Right? And it's so obvious that you're making a huge difference. So, and it's very, very fun and heartwarming to see.
Yeah, I go back to a conversation I think that you and I had, I think early on in my coaching because I was still learning myself. And I remember I had one of my athletes messaging me, and I think it was at like, 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
It was like 10 o'clock on like a Wednesday night. And you came down into the room and like, who are you talking to? And I said, well, I'm talking to such and such. And you said, I think around the lines of, why are you talking to him on a school night? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, yeah, that's a 14-year-old kid on a Wednesday night. Shouldn't be, like these are things that I never even thought of.
Yeah,
It
as an
was just
adult,
like
right?
I was just
Boundaries.
answering questions. I was trying to
Yeah.
be a good coach. I was trying to, but these are things you learn, right? Like, like, hey, let's save this for the gym. Hey, let's have a conversation, another
Yeah.
time,
Like
right?
a
So
gentle guide, right? So
yeah,
it's where they feel safe, but they also feel like, oh, like, because I mean, if the whole world was run by 14-year-olds, I think it would look very, very messy out there.
we would know everything. Everybody knows
And
everything
we
all the
would know everything. That is also true.
time.
We'd be a plethora of knowledge and no cleanup anywhere. Okay, so you decided to get into coaching. Now, what did that look like? So when people are looking for like what's their thing, and you for anyone listening, like you can listen to Brett's journey and you can apply it if this is your jam and you're like, "Oh my gosh, boxing coaching is exactly what I wanted." Here's the formula. But if you're like, I'm looking for my thing and you find that thing that makes you feel amazing, you can still follow this formula and find your own journey, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was the main thing that surprised me, I think, with boxing is so a lot of other coaches and other sports. What I realized is boxing is different because of the amount of education that you have to do, and nobody would kind of say boxing education. That's what you need to do. So for me, I was a little surprised. I thought, you know what, I'd take a weekend course. I'm a coach. That's how a lot of organizations and sports work. You take with the hockey, you take your level one, you can do such and such. So with boxing, to be a level one coach, you take a weekend course. It's two days, 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday, and you can call yourself a level one boxing coach in training.
Ah, okay.
So that's step one. Then you go and the next step, there's a number of courses that you have to complete. So NCCP, National Coaching Certification Program. So it's a Canadian program
Nice.
to become a coach at a Canadian level. So it's Boxing Canada, not Boxing Ontario. And so you complete those courses, and you can consider yourself trained. And then
And
Canada,
that.
and then Boxing Canada has an evaluation. So you need to be evaluated. So it's not just, you pay your money for the course, you put your time in for the courses, the online courses. Well, now there's also an evaluation from a Boxing Canada evaluator, which was way more in depth than I ever thought it would be. So for me, it was a big surprise to do that. And that got me to my level one certification. So that allowed me to corner coach and travel and go to club shows throughout Ontario, as well as be a corner coach as a second at provincial tournaments. But then
That.
the bug struck again, and I looked at some of the athletes that I've been training, and a lot of them have provincial um, aspirations. Some of them have national, even Olympic aspirations. And I wanted to further my education more.
Yep.
And I worked really hard and decided to do it all again and become a level two coach, which allows me to be a boxing coach nationally. So that was the last thing I completed earlier this year. And again, it was more another 2-day course,
Yep.
more online courses, and then another fun evaluation. So I'm happy to say that yeah, I am a level two certified Boxing
Nice.
Canada coach that has taken uh, a few years to complete, and
Okay.
many and lots of time, I guess is the best way to say.
Now, you guys just got to use that level two. Where did you go?
Quebec. So we took 12 athletes, two at the national level and six at a novice level, or one at an open, one at five at a novice level, to a tournament in Quebec City called the Quebec Open. And happy to say that all 8 of our athletes came home with medals. We had 4 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. So that's
Fantastic.
pretty incredible. For our first trip to Quebec, to be able to do that, and super proud.
And I will say, so, and you survived the drive to and from Quebec with young athletes.
Yeah,
Um,
that's always
Spoiler
fun.
alert, guys. If you know anyone else that hangs out with teens, if there's teachers, Brett came home using new language. He told me things were lit and that it was fire.
You do. We're all products of our environment, right?
Yeah.
So I think you put me with a bunch of 14 to 17-year-olds, and I learn a whole new vocabulary. Whether I want to or not, I start picking that, I start absorbing that. Like when you go to another country, right? You start.
Absolutely.
I know you've picked up accents before. I mean, that's
100%.
yeah,
100%. You absolutely do. For me, it's funny because every time I hear things that I have no idea what you're talking about, it makes me feel a little old. And then I look it up and I use it, and our kids hate it. I'm
yeah.
fine with it.
That's part of the fun of being a parent. I think it's good. And I like to know what's being said because I want to know what's good and bad. So I think
Yeah.
I ask more questions like you than most, I think, because I want to know what that means.
Yeah.
So
Like bad back in the day when bad was good and sick meant good. And yeah, who's
yeah,
to say?
yes.
Okay, so you have your level two, you went to Quebec City. Now, what would you say? So when the kids are struggling, because you get like when you're dealing with boxing, it's obviously, yeah, it's physical, but you get kids, they come in week after week, they're probably having their own kid issues. How do you guys deal with that when someone comes in the gym, they're just having like they're full of hormones, someone like I don't know, took their lunch by accident and they're just having a day.
Honestly, I got probably a million stories, but I'll try and just keep a couple because I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind is I had a child that was being bullied, and his mother decided to bring him into the gym and toughen him up. And at first, the kid didn't want to be there. He didn't have the confidence. He didn't want to be there, but he kept showing up and he kept showing up, and we made it fun. And for me, this is one of the greatest things that I could ever hear was probably about 3 months in. I remember his mom coming in and she literally hugged me, and it made me emotional because it came out of nowhere. And she said, "My son's no longer getting bullied." I'm like, "That's awesome. That's incredible. Like, what happened?" She's like, "He's confident. He doesn't have to fight. He walks around, and when the bullies look at him now, his head's not down. His head's up. He makes eye contacts with adults now. He's
Oh,
walking confident, right?" And it's just for me, that was something that you talk about the ripple effects, right? Like you just think that showing up, volunteering your time, and but those are the things that like make a huge difference.
yeah.
Um, we got a number of stories like that where these kids. I've got one that's I think personally he's at a provincial level right now. I see him being a national champ within the next year or two. He's 14 years old, turning 15. So I mean, it's incredible to see. And then, we've got other ones that are, have aspirations for the Olympics. They want to be an Olympian. Now the boxing's back in 2028. We've got guys working towards being Olympians for 2028, coming out of London, Ontario, which is incredible, and have aspirations for that and, are planning towards that. So, I mean, it's just uh, one of the things that I add is, I've played competitive sports my whole life. So even though I wasn't boxing, I had great coaches. I had
Yes.
great hockey coaches. I had great baseball coaches, that have really shaped me to who I am. And
Hmm.
I think I take a lot of that just to hopefully, shape some of these kids so that
Yes.
they know that they got somebody that'll support them, stand behind them, and not just physically be in their corner, but literally be in their corner, but also just know that
Yeah.
we're there, that I'm there.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important because as a crossover, like as entrepreneurs, we're always talking about when you look at successful people, there's always a coach. There's always, whether it's a personal trainer, whether it's a business coach, whether it's financial coach, whatever it is,
Or
we
spouse.
or a spouse. Yeah, I got you. Um, but the
Either
thing,
both ways, but okay, yeah, all right.
um, we have a lot of fun. But no, the whole thing is like you really can't do it alone, right? And so I love that you're showing these kids kind of taking all the things that you've learned and the passion you have for giving back. Because I remember early on when we met, like you were doing something, I was like, you should absolutely be a coach. And I feel I'm not taking credit for it. I just want to be clear, but I feel like I planted that seed.
not wrong. And I
Partially.
mean,
One
you
of the seeds,
you've
I think.
always been one of my biggest supporters in
Yeah.
everything I've done. So I mean that does make sense. I'm my biggest cheerleader for sure. But yeah, it took me actually doing it to actually
Yeah.
see it, and then I was like, why wasn't I doing this before? So I really do love it. I love seeing. I honestly I love the beginners. I love people starting off and not knowing how to throw a punch or how to do anything, and taking them from there to their first fight. And then now I've got ones that I've literally started from day one to now they're potentially looking at being provincial champions. It's crazy, and then just to be able to be that support and bring some of my knowledge of other sports,
Yeah.
how you can tune things out. Baseball was big for that, having to be able to tune out the crowd. Hockey wasn't as much. You didn't hear it as much, but I mean, I know with baseball, everybody was so close and so loud. You know,
Yes.
being able to tune out the negative was very tough. But that's definitely something that I can talk to these kids and get them focused and get them in the right frame of mind to step between those ropes and go to battle.
So I'm actually going to change. I wanted to talk about this at the end, but we're going to talk about it now because I think it naturally flows in. So part of the thing you're doing with these kids is really helping with, it's because of what you just said. So teaching them to focus their minds, to really be able to have that confidence. And it just leads me to this other initiative that you worked on, that you're working on Sundays. What
Yeah.
are you leading everyone through and why?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we've partnered with a local company called the Mental Game Academy. And so I'm a big believer in, people are experts for a reason. Coaches are important because, they've done it before, they're successful. So reaching out and using your network is something that I've always been really good at. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I reached out to my hockey network, and my hockey network came back with the program, Larissa Mills with the Mental Game Academy. So I reached out to her, and something we've been working on now for a couple years, and finally just got it started, and hoping that we're going to start seeing the results, which I feel we will, because I mean, boxing is beyond. It's such a mental sport that everybody thinks it's very physical, but I mean, being able to get the courage and being able to produce at a high level
Yes.
while you're getting punched at, I mean, these are not easy things to do. And how, especially at a young age, if you face a loss and how crippling that could be to you, and not understanding the ramifications of losing versus winning, the things aren't necessarily that bad. So
Yes.
I think this is giving these kids, I know having two kids ourselves, I mean, they're 20, geez,
Wow.
turning 20 in a couple weeks, and turning 18 later this year. It's You see these kids, sometimes they don't have coping skills, and they don't know how to deal with negative. They don't know how to deal with rejection. They don't know how to deal with anything that's not perfect, a
Yeah.
participation ribbon. It's
Especially after COVID, right?
especially after COVID. I mean, giving these kids the tools to be able to deal with these things that pop up is something more than boxing. And I think it's going to help them in every aspect of their life moving forward. So for me, this was the most important initiative to get going
Yes.
with these young athletes, that I think, we've got people participating in it that are currently a national champion. We've got people that are participating in it that are still new boxers. So it's a wide gamut that we're addressing.
Yeah.
And we're also teaching the coaches at the same time. So we've got a number of coaches that are taking the training, and hopefully going to kind of spread it around,
Yeah.
uh, help their knowledge and help the kids and help the boxers all
For
reach
sure.
reach their peak.
I think it's amazing that you've done this. I brought this up last week on my episode, but like even in the first week of this training, I get the perk of also listening. But the perk, like the first week of this training, you hear that someone who's 16 years old has been on their phone for the equivalent of 25,000 hours, and that scrolling on your phone kills your confidence, which ultimately kills your production in whatever you're doing,
Reaction time, everything.
everything.
It's crazy what a phone does to you. And we've talked about this before. I'm addicted. I know I'm addicted to my phone. I'm working really hard to be less addicted to it.
Thumbs
It's
up. You're doing a great job.
baby steps, but I've always been a big believer in leading by example as well too. So I can't tell you to do it if I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying my best. It's baby steps, but I mean putting that phone away at night and making sure it's gone 2 hours before bed and not looking at it within 30 minutes of waking up. These are huge changes for me.
There- Well, do you know what I think? So I know, and I mean, we're not going to go off a tangent. I definitely recommend the Mental Game Academy if you're interested in learning more. But we've heard for like what, years, put your phone down, put your phone down. And sometimes it just takes the right message the right way because what this was, hey, by the way, did you know that looking at reels shrinks the part of your brain that allows you to focus? No, I did not know that. Or, right?
Yeah.
Or the other one was that just by looking at all of these things on social media, your confidence goes down. And it's not just like, boo-hoo, I don't feel good in my outfit today. It's like, I don't feel like I'm a good enough person.
It's
Like
crazy.
that's
Like a lot of this is you figure is common sense though, right? When you really
yeah,
think about it, like, oh yeah, well that definitely makes
makes
sense.
sense. Yeah.
But none of us do anything to change that, right? Because
No.
this is our world now. This is we're addicted to our phones. We're
Yeah.
addicted to scrolling. I want to see the next TikTok. I want to see, it's got my algorithms. It knows what I want to look at. So it's gonna,
100%. Or like, hey, I didn't know that they had this cool thing in Korea that we should have here. Like
yeah.
it's do I
You are one
I'm
that gets
going to
targeted
Korea,
quite
I should
often.
I know. But yeah, so I mean, ultimately, we're always looking to be more productive. And I think as entrepreneurs and realtors, or because you're also an entrepreneur, right? So like part of our thing is like we can't be phone free,
No.
but to be on it more than you need to be, or to be on it where it's just actually making you a worse person.
It
Like
always
that,
falls back to what we have always talked about that, that work-life balance, right? So, I mean, I think that's always a struggle.
yes,
It doesn't matter how perfect your life is, that's always going to be a struggle. Especially when you're people like us where that are very busy with work as well as our passions and pastimes
yes.
together and apart. I mean, there's a lot of things we do together. There's a lot of things that we do apart, but finding that balance is definitely tricky for sure.
Yes. Well, and that's one thing I wanted to ask. So, in when you're talking with like when you're doing all your training and things like that, because I know a lot of the time, once I did hear someone say once, like you can be good at you can be amazing at everything, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to you have to shift your priorities because you can't give 100% to everything at the same time, right?
Yeah.
There's just
I think that's the thing is you can't do two things well at the same time. I
Mhm.
think that's, I think the example was, if you're talking on the phone and somebody's talking to you, you can talk to that person and talk on the phone, but you can't do it at the same time. You got to stop one
Both
and do
gonna get mad.
it. So, yeah, you can't do two things at once. So I think it's important to stay focused on one,
Yep.
but find that balance where you can, you know, do more.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, ultimately, I think that is the entrepreneur, like person conundrum of 2025, right? Like, how can you do it all? And I think the thing is, it's finding the balance that works for you and knowing that there are seasons, right? That there's seasons when you're going to be busier doing this, busier doing that. Okay. So going into another kind of similar focus, when we're talking about what are the next couple of months or a few months look like? One of the things I wanted to mention was so you've partnered with Boomers as a coach, and Boomers is a partner for Fight to End as well.
Yeah.
Why Boomers?
So, Boomers is I think I brought it up earlier, like a family.
Yeah.
So not only is it a family, it's a legacy. So it's a legacy of Lawrence Boom, that passed away, and It's really the students of Lawrence that have kind of picked it up, and his son, all of which have become family to me and have really shaped me into the coach that I am because, people like Coach Mark has really I adapt a lot of his teaching in the beginner classes to how he taught me. And, he was a huge help in developing my coaching style and someone I love cornering with. Abdul, is another one. He's, his passion and, the way he's more of a tougher coach, like he's not soft. So, I mean, he's one that, really speaks to the kids and they listen and you could see that respect. So things like that. I mean, certain coaches have really taken me under their wing, even though I'm older than them. I've been called brother from some. I get called dad by others. So I'm kind of the dad figure for some things. So I'm not quite ready for that yet, but I appreciate the brother comments more than the dad ones. But there's certain things, I've helped mentor them with. So
Yeah.
having my experience of running a business or running employees and things like that can help some younger people when it comes to running a gym or running
Yes.
tournaments or things like that and club shows. So things like that you know we help each other. What my strengths are and their strengths are versus our weaknesses. We all have them, so
Yeah,
it's just knowing that and we help each other get better together. And I think that's really
for sure.
something that Boomerz has done. And, they are definitely community minded. So they have a program called Boomerz Cares, which really helps kids that can't afford. They'll bring kids in, they'll pay for their memberships.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
and, they've got all these things set up to give back to the community, get the kids off the street. And
Yes.
again, a lot of this has to do with the legacy of Lawrence Boom and his vision and mission of giving back to the community. His son Matt has really kind of grabbed the bull by the horns, and away he went. So he's really picked up where his dad has left off and surrounded himself with good people to make the world better. I think make London better.
Fantastic. Oh, this is amazing. And so, okay. So last year, you guys did something really cool in August, and you're doing it again. Tell us more.
Yeah, so we, talk about taking the bull by the horns. We took something special that hadn't been done in London since 2012, and that was bring provincial level tournament to London. So we brought the first Ontario novice tournament to London last August.
Nice.
And it was an eye-opening experience. Hundreds of athletes and boxing teams from across Ontario. Even a couple we had from out east. We had Nova Scotia, and Quebec. So we branched out even past Ontario, and we have become the premier novice tournament in all of Canada. Uh,
Amazing.
we're the only exclusive novice tournament. And there's other tournaments as we mentioned, the Quebec Open, that they have open and novice. We are solely a novice tournament. By novice, that is boxers that have 10 and less fights. So
Okay.
we're really trying to promote the sport of boxing, the love of boxing, the passion of boxing, and give a stage for some of these young athletes to get started. And really, hopefully, I could say one day, hey, we had such and such at our tournament, and now they're an Olympic level boxer. Now
So
they're
cool.
representing Canada at
So
the
cool.
Olympics, and got a
Those
gold medal.
signatures on the wall.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a big undertaking last year, having never done anything like that of that scale. And we did so well, we went crazy and went even bigger this year. So
Crushed it.
that we've added a third ring. We've added, more doctors, more officials, more athletes. We've got over 500 athletes. Our registration exploded and filled up within 48 hours.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
The love is there, and I know I mentioned Matt and Abdul before. The three of us have kind of just banded together to kind of put this tournament together and kind of divided and conquered and
Yeah.
make all of our decisions over food, which is a genius idea if anybody's doing anything. So I mean, have meetings with food. It
It
definitely helps.
it makes the world a better
It
place.
really does.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it supports local.
nobody wants to deal with a hangry Brett, right? So I mean, it's
I can
yeah.
attest to that, actually. Nobody wants to deal with a
Oh,
hangry
we'll
Brett.
get
This
some
man is
food. And
amazing. Just feed
the
him.
great thing about London is we have so many great places. So
Yes. Well, and then yet you're supporting local at the same time, just like
absolutely,
doubling down.
absolutely.
Um, okay, so this year's novice tournament takes place when?
August 22nd to 24th. It'll be at the BMO Center again. And you think,
Perfect.
hey, BMO soccer. Not the way we do it. We take the
Not
soccer
this
field and
time.
make it to a boxing dome, basically. We've got 3 boxing rings this year. We've
Nice.
upgraded from the 2 that we had last year, and we're super excited.
So good.
Yeah,
Okay, so our listeners, entrepreneurs, realtors, who love giving back. So, how can people get involved and what kind of advertising sponsorship do you have available? Because I'm sure we have a lot of people. There's 500 boxers, so there must be even more people walking through the doors.
yeah. Well, we figure based on the numbers from last year, I think we'll probably be looking in the ballpark of about 5,000 people will go through the doors within 3 days.
Amazing.
And I mean, we've got 500 boxers, their coaches, their family, their friends. And I think the one thing that this tournament brings is it really brings out the fans because these are not national level, but it's usually, newer boxers and they seem to have friends and family that really want to come out and support them. And they're from across Ontario. So the great thing is that a lot of the, sponsors that we have, people that are selling mortgages, you can sell mortgages across Ontario.
It's two people.
Realtors, you have networks across the province. So I mean, getting
He's
your name
speaking
out
our
there.
language,
Yeah.
referrals.
So I know a good realtor, but yeah, no. So I think there's lots of ways that you can kind of give back one to the community because again, everything goes is going to Boomers, is going to Boomers Cares. Over and above that, covering our costs for the event. But it gives you a showcase to celebrate giving back as well as showing off your business and really exposing it to 5,000 people over
Yes.
days, which is incredible. I mean that and they're very cost effective. So I mean we have entry level where you can be a friend of the event for $500. You can be a vendor. If you have a product that you feel that could be sold to boxers and their families, you can take a vendor spot
Yeah.
and they kind of go up from there. So I mean there's lots of different spots to get involved depending on how much support you want to give. But yeah, we'd love to have as many people as we can locally support these local events because I mean we're tied in with Tourism London, with Sport Tourism London. We're trying to grow boxing within the community with other local gyms in the area, and we're mending bridges and hopefully making friends throughout. So.
Fantastic. So, okay, so if someone wants to, let's give people some info. We will put it in the show notes, but number one, how can someone get involved with sponsoring or being a friend of the event or a vendor or anything for the tournament?
So the easiest way is you can reach out to me. So Coach Brett, 333 at is on Instagram is the easiest way. You can also on Instagram we have the Ontario Novice Tournament.
Okay, so follow both.
Follow both, please, and either of those, or you can reach out to Matt or Abdul, either or. Abdul is Judah Promotions, and Matt is Final Destination. So either of
Wonderful.
those two would be able to help as well. But yeah, we're any way you want to reach out, we'll have a conversation.
Fantastic. Oh, so good. And then, guys, if you're listening and you're like, boxing sounds pretty cool, how can someone get involved with starting boxing? So they don't know what they're doing. They're just like, I like working out, don't want anyone to punch me in the face. How do I do this? How do they get started?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great thing about boxing is that like Boomers, we have multiple different levels of boxing. So I mean you can do it for fitness. You can do it for competition. You can do it for whatever suits your heart. I think is a different way to put it. Is that when I said earlier that it's for everyone, it is.
Yeah.
There's from beginners to people that have done it, when they were a kid and wanted to start doing it again. I
It
think
is
there's
a good workout. I will say,
oh,
like, you have to be ready to sweat, and it
absolutely.
is awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, we when I say like we offer like a good kind of wraparound support too. We do have a great strength and conditioning coach that offers private one-on-ones, as well as all of our coaches offer private one-on-ones as well too. So, if you want that extra one-on-one attention, that's available. If you want to join just a regular group class, you can do that. And then there's multiple different entry levels as well. If you want to just your first class is always free. You just say it's on Coach Brett, and your first class is always free. And then you can decide from there if it's for you.
Yeah.
And look at doing group classes. There's beginner, there's intermediate, there's advanced competitive. Every night of the week, there's something. And we've got an incredible youth and kids program as well. So, if there's something you want to share with your kids, I mean, I know we have a lot of parents that bring the kids class, and the kid will stay and play on their iPad or do something else while the parent does the class right afterwards.
I've
So
seen it. It's true.
and there's also certain classes depending on the age of the kid you guys can do together. I see a lot of we've got a couple father-son groups that come in now. We've got a couple husband-wife, which is always fun because I mean, it's a fun way to get out your aggression sometimes. So not saying that that's a thing, but I mean it happens. So I always joke with them because I think of this one couple in particular because they're always so fun because I always ask, "Hey, do you guys like train at home?" And they're like, "No, no, no, no. We save it all for the gym." So I'm like, "Okay, good." Because but
That's funny. Um, okay, so you mentioned your Coach Brett Instagram. That's kind of a fun way for you to spread joy and passion.
yeah, so that's another way is that I get to share my motivational side,
Yeah.
I get to share my
Big
humor side. My TikTok is fun, but yeah, I it's just a way that I can just have some more fun with things and interact and keep it separate too from, my personal life as well too. So, my coach Brett is Coach Brett. So it's I'm focused on the athletes. I'm focused on, answering questions and showing things that I think that if any of them looked at my page, they'd be like, okay, I'm motivated. I don't care as much as that Brett was in the pool on the weekend. I care that, he was at a tournament and helping somebody, corner a kid in his first fight or something like that. So,
That's fair. I care that Brett was in the pool on the weekend, though.
oh, it's because I'm usually with you, so that makes sense. Yes.
Big fan. Okay, so this is amazing. Now, I would say like this passion you have for boxing, um, and I know I said that we were gonna kind of breeze by it, but for everything you've built with Provincial Glass and networking, how do you think it led you to, because I know people are just everyone's searching for that thing. Like you're obviously glowing. You love what you're doing here. And it's not like it's your side gig. Like um it's not even the main thing, but it's filled up your heart. So how do you think your journey led you there?
Well, you said it right there. I mean, it's filled up my heart. Like I'm not making money by coaching. I'm literally filling my life with joy. And I think it's something that, you know, work can have good days and bad days. But
Yeah.
I know when I go to the gym, those are good days because I'm choosing to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel it's not work. It's, I'm joking around with the boxers. I'm, imparting knowledge. I'm learning myself new words. These are fun things. And I think for me it's the passion just has carried through. So what's led me to that is just, that feeling.
Yeah.
Uh that it's a freedom, it's stress free.
Yes.
Like I think our world sometimes is everybody's pulling at you in every single direction. And you, like me, is someone that has a real tough time saying no. You want to help everyone. Well, this gives me a chance to do that. This gives me a chance that, I can put boundaries on things too. And I can say, you know what? Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm yours. I'll
Yep.
help you. I'll do whatever I can. I'll be the best coach that I can. The occasional weekends, we'll go on a road trip, to Toronto or Windsor or, wherever, Hamilton. And, I'll be there for a club show to, hopefully support one of our fighters. These are things I love. There's a very little stress involved in it
Yes.
and tons of joy.
Amazing.
Even when somebody loses, I mean, to be there and comfort them and tell them, like, hey, back to the drawing board. Now we know that didn't work. Let's see what else we got. Let's get back to the drawing board.
I will say, thank you for sharing that. 'Cause I will say, like from the whole time I've known you, one of the things that I've noticed, you're a natural mentor. So you you would always tell me a story about kind of like this person or that person, and they come to you and they chat with you and they look for help or guidance. And it was just so natural. And I'm not like, you're not glowing if you're talking about someone who's having a hard time, but it's just you could tell how much you care.
Yeah, so for me, that's been from a very young age. I think, even high school, people used to come and tell me things. I was the group psychiatrist, certain things I didn't even want to know. But, I got told and I helped a lot of people and that felt good. Like, I think it always feels good helping people. And I like being that resource for people that, you know, um, to help them through their problems. I think the thing I struggle with sometimes is sometimes I carry it with me.
Yes.
And I think that is something I'm still working on being able to help and not take it on. So I think that that's some growth that I still have to work on myself. And because again, I don't want to stop helping people. I love that part of it. I love that feeling. I love them, reaching out and knowing that I'm the person they can trust.
Yeah.
Um,
It's heavy sometimes though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's it
It's
it,
figuring
weight,
out the balance.
yeah,
Again.
well, it is. We talked about it, right? Like that's it exactly. So, yeah, I'm hoping that I can continue to find that balance and find my place and keep getting more knowledge, more experience. That's what life's about, right? It's a
Absolutely.
spice of life. So,
Absolutely. And I have to say, like, as a participant in our fun life, we get to do things like rewatch the entire season of Ted Lasso right now because I love coaching and I love all learning, and Brett is on this coaching journey, so we get to watch it again.
yes,
Big fan.
I've brought in some TED-isms myself. I've used a couple
Oh,
of those and
the things you say.
the things I say, yeah. So I mean, yeah, if it's not a Tony Robbins reference,
Ted
you know,
Lasso.
Ed Lasso. So I
Ugh,
mean, yeah, there's many that you've had a very strong influence on me as well too. So I think I haven't started quoting Brian Buffini yet, but we'll
not
see.
yet. Just give it
Yeah,
time. Give it time. We'll listen to a
another
few more
time.
podcasts.
Yeah,
Um, but thank you so much. You know what? I mean, and guys, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, as a side note, it is so uplifting. And if you're like, what is all the hype about? It's just a really well written show that makes you feel good, but it's real, right? Like I'd say that's the cool part. Um, Coach Brett Lucier, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been amazing. If you guys want to reach out to Brett about helping with the novice tournament or attending the novice tournament, you can go to Coach Brett 333 on Instagram. You can just follow him anyway because he spends a lot of time picking out the perfect Monday quote for the Motivational Monday, which has nothing to do with anything anyone else has posted. And the novice tournament, the Ontario Novice Tournament, you can follow the Instagram. You can also reach out to Abdul or to Matt through Judah Promotions or Vinyl Destination if you want to just box at the gym. Go and see them. Brett will be there. Coach Brett will be there with a high five, and then he might make you do some burpees.
possibly. Yeah, I'm not the burpee punisher, but I would definitely have a high five and a big smile for sure.
I love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Brett. And we're going to do that too. Thank you for the nose touch. See, bonus points. Guys, this has been Crystal Lemore Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor. Crystal Lemore. This is Realtor Life. And Brett, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, we'll see you next week.